Howdy. Good day, everybody. So, back for another live stream, TeleDynes YouTube channel. Hope everybody's had a good couple of weeks. The last time we were on, not last week, but the week before, and we just kind of been just busy with the channel, working on some new videos, and of course playing gigs and things like that. Last week we had a gig at a place called the Canned Heat Brewery in Fall River, Mass, and that was a fun gig. Sounded really good in there. It was really high ceiling, old building, wood ceiling, and just everything. It wasn't too washy or like any sounding. It was great. And every room is a little different, so it changes the sound and the way you approach your amplifier and the way you play too. I'm sure you guys have found out. Hi from Greece. Hi from Rhode Island. USA. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have figured this. I have come across this before too. Like when you play like an you think you got your sound dialed in and you play in a new room, and then all of a sudden it's like, why am I not getting the touch sensitivity from the amp or the guitar? And like I play a note and it just dies away instead of sustain and ringing out. The guitar is the same, strings are the same, setup is the same, and the amp is the same. And a lot of the times it's just the room. I like having a little bit of overdrive to get a little bit more sensitivity. So, just so you can do stuff like when you're doing a hammer on or a pull off or whatever, you'll get a nice, smooth transition from one note to another. So it doesn't feel as though you're working as hard. Where I find that some amps that I've played through, and I've always found this to be true with the old the 59 Tweed Bassements, the 410 setup. Any amp with a 410, for whatever reason, I always get like without pedals or some kind of saturation or gain stage added to the guitar. Some of it's on the guitar as well. I just can't get that saturation, and that affects being able to do stuff like really fast like that. Oh. That's funny. It affects being able to play stuff like that really fast. And a lot of stuff will get buried under cymbals, bass, whatever. But anyway, we got the next video that's coming up. Hopefully soon. I got it recorded and just doing the final touches on the edit. Tablature is done, and that's Cannonball Rag. A couple of people have requested it. I did a version of it, of me just playing it on the channel. That was one of the first videos I did. I was just started doing covers of songs that just to kind of get used to playing songs, get used to the process of recording, editing, and all of that. So I figured something easy to deal with. Play songs I know. What amp am I using now? I am using Fender, a 63, 60, I think it's a 60, it's Summer 63 Fender Bassman. Blonde Bassman, that right there. And I got the Space Echo on the top. Sometimes I use the Space Echo, sometimes I use the Mystery Brain on my pedal board. It really depends on where I'm playing. If it's a really small room, I probably won't bring the Space Echo, mainly because that thing is pretty sensitive. I know it's got a handle on the side, but I've never lifted it up by the side. That tape, I could just fall right out. It's just laying in there, and it's going around the, you know, the track. But if you flipped it upside down, the tape would just fall right out. So you have to be, I mean, it might not, but I don't want to risk it. So putting it in, I did replace the tape myself, and you to be fairly gentle and careful with doing that. So the pedal's a lot easier, and just it's sitting on the type of the amp. So it was a couple of gigs ago, several months, where it's just people were just crowding around me, and we're on the same level as everybody. So everyone was just crowding around me, and they're right next to my amp, and they have drinks in their hands and everything. And I'm like, oh my god, just please be careful. And all it would take is just one bump, and that thing could go fall off the back of the amplifier. Probably should figure out a better way to secure it. So if I know the environment's going to be like that, I'll just use a pedal board or whatever. A Vox AC 15, yeah, that's great. I used to have a Vox AC 30, probably 15 years ago now, and the only reason why I just got rid of it because I already had two Bassmans. I had one. I had a 60, this one, the summer. Actually, this one is the 62 model. The other one is the 63. They're the same. The only difference is the Tolex, the type of Tolex, and the grill cloth is a different type, but and it's got a brown control panel as opposed to a black. But the innards are the same. But yeah, I had an AC30, and I used that for a little while, playing rockabilly and rock and roll, and sounded great with a Gretsch. It's kind of the George Harrison sound, early Beatles sound, and yeah, it was great. My only problem for a while was that it's so the 15 would probably be better because the 30 is so loud, and it's got the normal channel and the bright channel, and the bright channel is, depending on the guitar you have and how you adjust your setting, is very, very piercing, can be. So I eventually had it split where I could go out from the amp itself and into an attenuator and then back into the speaker, so I could crank the amp, get a nice distortion out of it, and still play relatively quiet. But I haven't been using the attenuator for a while. I've just been using this, and I've been putting a baffle in front of the amp, and it's been fine. Tends to make it a little more on the bass side, again, depending on the room. Oh, Rickenbackers are nice. You don't see them that much around here. I used to work in a guitar shop, and I've worked on a couple, and I've worked on the like the both. I don't know the models of them. The little tiny one, the one that Lennon used to play, and then the bigger one with the cat eye f hole. And then I also worked on one of the 12-string ones, the red one, the Hard Day's Night, a Rickenbacker, and that they're cool sounding. They're really cool sounding. If I could, if I had the the extra, the extra cash, I'd definitely get a Rickenbacker for sure. But even back then when I had the I'm in Greece. Yeah, I would imagine. You probably have to order it from. Uh, I mean, I don't know, but I usually order my guitars online anyway. I don't go to a guitar shop because even here, the there's no Rickenbacker. I never see Rickenbackers in any music store. I do see Gretsches only because Fender has distribution now, but it's always the mid-range, middle of the road, the Electromatic or whatever versions, not the these. So occasionally there's a few music stores, but it's usually independent music stores that'll have the the big, the more the higher end Gretsches, and that's fine. I wouldn't buy one at a mainstream store anyway because like a Guitar Center or whatever, because those guitars have just been sitting there forever, and the necks are twisting and it's dry and everything. So I usually go to a store that's more independent. If I'm going to buy it there, they care about what, the instruments that they have. So, um, and there's one store like a couple hours out in Connecticut that has a lot of Gretsches. I think it's called Martel Music, but the Rickenbackers, they used to be. I used to see them all over the place. But now, not really. Occasionally, I'll see one. I see a lot of copies, like the J Tercer, whatever that is, um, like that sort of stuff. But I don't the actual Rickenbackers. Don't see those. I'll see occasionally. I'll see some Hofner basses and stuff like that, but nothing like that. Gretches, yeah, but like I said, a lot of Fenders, mostly Gibsons, Jacksons, um, ESP, PRS, a lot of that for the most part. But back when I had my Vox, you couldn't find Gretches at all anywhere unless you went. You had to. They were around, but you had to usually find a place that would have it. It wasn't common. Yeah, I mean, it is and it isn't. Depends on where you are. I'm lucky to be close to a city that has a pretty lively music scene, but it's just decent guitars are pretty expensive, and it's just hard to find. You get a lot of the lower end. They're selling to students and selling to people there's still a lot of young kids that are playing and getting, but they just they go for the Strats and the Tellys and that sort and the 7-string rock metal guitars and play everything in drop C and so but like rock and roll, classic rock and roll and stuff like that, it's not that common. There's maybe two or three bands in the whole area that I know of that really plays the kind of stuff that we do. There's one other band that I can think of. I might be forgetting somebody, and if they hear this, I apologize, but I do know one other band that does it. Um, and then there's a few blues bands, blues rock and roll bands. But yeah, it used to be more. Even just a few years ago, there were quite a few. You could put on a show and have a whatever music concert or music festival and have 6 bands play rockabilly stuff, and they would all be relatively local within the New England, tri-state area or whatever. And now it's just gotten it's just less and less and less and less. But rockabilly's always kind of it comes and goes. It was fairly big in the obviously in the 80s and stuff with the Stray Cats, and then kind of dipped down a bit, came back in the 90s during the swing revival, kind of dipped down in the 2000s. There was a little bit of a resurgence a few years ago, just on a local level, and now we're kind of in a dip. Maybe it's coming back a little bit, but I don't know. You never know. I don't really worry about that kind of stuff. I just play what I like, and people like it or they don't. So, oh yeah. Well, I'll definitely try to get my working on a new album. So let's, for the most part, rockabilly. We dip into a little bit of '60s rock and roll, like early, I don't want to say Beatlesque type sound, but that kind of sound. So it's not just 145 or 251 type stuff. It's got a little bit more going on, but it's straight eights for the most part. For a couple of tunes, but for a lot of the new album is going to be swing, rockabilly, and some surf rock type stuff. Greetings. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining. We're just kind of hanging out and chatting about music, playing a little guitar. Yeah, rockabilly's a lot of fun to play live, and I blues, country, all that stuff that kind of fits together with it. I never really played surf stuff that much years ago. I guess now it's been 10 years, but because yeah, I just started thinking about it. I started the band. We started the band. The drummer and I started in 2015, so it's been 15 years, almost to the month. It was around April. I want to say April, May, something like that, where we started looking for a bass player and started booking some gigs. And I want to say it was around June we had our first gig. Don't really remember. I could probably look back, but so it's been 10 years. And I never really integrated surf rock into um, the rockabilly stuff, but I have the drummer Eric. He's big into the surf rock stuff, and kind of showed me and exposed me to the surf rock genre, and I really like it a lot. And realized that a lot of the the surf rock sound is this amplifier. It's the basement amp. It's sort of a blend. It's like the Setzer sound, or at least the '90s Setzer sound when he was really. I guess he's always played the basement for the most part. Um, but yeah, that amplifier, the Ventures used the basements. They use different models from the early '60 model, which had a 115 in it, because again, it's a bass amp. Um, so then they had the 212s and so on. That's the version I have. So, but yeah, it's closer to a surf sound really than it is a rockabilly sound. But it's kind of a blend between the two, because I mean, you add the delay and the Gretsch guitar and everything. It kind of blends the two together. So it works very well. And I started learning songs that I'd never learned before, like Pipeline and Walk Don't Run, and um, some more obscure stuff. There's a great arrangement of a song called "Slaughter on 10th Avenue" by the Ventures, And if listen to the live in Japan in 65 version though. Don't listen to the original recording. It's fine, but the live version really has that energy. That whole album is great. It's just it sounds um just really it sounds very fairly edgy for the time. It's like, really, this is 1965. It's pretty good. Pretty cool. Excellent guitarist. Learned a lot from him. Oh, greetings. Greetings from Brazil. Nice to have you. Thank you for joining. Um, yeah, I don't excellent guitar. I don't know who you're talking about, but unless I did mention Setzer, but yeah, of course he's great. So yeah, the surf stuff is cool. So we always try to go it's not 50-50 1-to-1, but we do a portion of the set, usually halfway through the first set. We just did a live stream of it actually a couple weeks ago. The bass player will change from the upright and go to the electric bass, and that gives it more of the surf sound. You can play anything on the upright, but it is easier to do stuff like although you're not playing exactly all those notes on the bass, but it's easier to play these different, like playing something like that, because we do a couple the meters tune, Sissy Strut, but it always gets the people dancing. And let's see, what was I gonna say here? I always try to go over a couple of techniques on the live stream here. So one thing that I've mentioned before, but it's always an issue when you're playing in a three-piece band, because you're the only guitar player. You have to make all the parts kind of work, and that's what's great about rockabilly, blues, this kind of stuff, and stuff that I find that if it swings, I don't know what it is. It tends to fill in more space. The cymbals go and playing the swinging eighths and everything else, and you can go from this and with the delay and the sound of the guitar, it fills in enough space you don't have to really worry about it too much. When you try to play something like a songs that have other instruments going on, it becomes a little more complicated. You have to figure out like what you can add to it, especially if something has a prominent keyboard part or something like that. So I usually try to add in different rhythms, and changing around the way you play your rhythms while you're singing, or if you have a singer, instead of just playing or whatever, you can do some breaks and stuff like that. If it's straight or a swing. And then do some compings too, where you can like you pop the strings with your fingers on your thumb. And then do a little finger picking. And it just kind of helps fill in the different things. And you can add, if there's horn parts or something like that, you can add in those little spots. We do a cover of one of my favorite songs to play, mostly because of the little stops and starts at the beginning and the end. is the This Cat's on a Hot Tin Roof, the Setzer orchestra thing, and it's got the the ending, right? And the for the most part, it works as a three-piece uh, song because it's just a rockabilly song with horns added to it for the most, basically. But at the very end, there is there's a couple of the horns really kick in and it really adds to it. And when it's not there, the song doesn't have that extra little oomph. So what I like to do is sort of emulate that with you're playing the song. And it's just the rock and roll thing. It's just voice for a horn section. My guitar's not playing that, the horns are, but you can just play that. It goes to the 4. You can go from that same voicing to a 9, or you can play an F7. That really implies that it's a 4 chord, right? And there's trying to think of another couple other tunes like that. Anytime you want to fill in some space too, when you're playing a solo of any kind, instead of playing single notes, try to harmonize it. Even if it's just another note, even just one more note, you can add a fifth or a third or something, or voice the whole thing. Do a 4-way close, the whole thing in there, and that will fill in a lot of space. And it doesn't sound like, oh, the song's big and then dropping down. And another thing too is, of course, the drummer. When you go into a solo, the drums, unless you're specifically working an arrangement out for a reason, you're trying to create a dynamic, generally speaking, when you go into a solo, regardless of what you're doing, the drummer usually should go to the ride because that will fill in the space. But if they're on a closed hi-hat or something, it's going to be quiet. And it's not, especially if the song had been on a ride at some point, like on the chorus or something, go to a solo and it's not there. Now, if you're lucky enough to have an upright player that's slapping and adding the click in the background, then the drummer can do a train beat, like a swinging thing, pop, pop with the click in the back. And then you can kind of get away with, and that can help too, because that can it clears up, it adds space, but it clears up the frequency range, so it's not just cutting in, because the cymbals in the guitar are roughly around the same frequency range, roughly, like between 2,000 hertz or kilohertz and 4,005, like right in that range there. So when you do a sound check, you always want to make sure, at least for me, I want to make sure that the lead portion of the guitar is just slightly above the cymbal. That way, when the drummer does start to really dig in, the guitar is still on top, and you don't get buried. Sorry, I got a question here. Sorry, am I a pro? You a pro guitar player with a formal music education? I don't know if I'm a pro guitar player. I mean, I guess. I don't really. I did do it for a living for a while, but unless you're, constantly touring or you happen to work, teach or something like that, which I do private lessons here and there, but I don't really. It's a lot of work at this level to constantly play 9 gigs a week in order to make any kind of decent living. But formal music education, yeah, I've had some. I've took a couple of. I took a couple of years of chorus, And then I took 4 years of orchestration, not related to guitar necessarily, but it was just music theory and orchestrating for big band and concert band and then symphony. And that was about as far as that's pretty far. But and I had some hands-on application. So I'd write the big band score, and then I was playing with a big band at the time. So then I would take the score to them, and then we'd rehearse it, play it, and we'd have a show that we would play every month. And then every once in a while, I'd get to showcase one of little my scores or something. And then I did one for a concert band, and I did a couple of transposing, a little bit of orchestration for like musical theater and stuff like that. I didn't play; I just wrote the music. That's the one thing about guitar when it comes to the symphonies, concert bands, theater music, and stuff like that, and a little bit more now because Broadway's changed quite a bit. But for the most part, you don't really need the guitar. It's not very common, and it's tough to find guitar players that can read music anyway. So I mean, they're around. There's plenty of them, and there's a whole network of those guys that have that work kind of locked up. But it's it's not a common instrument you see too much, unless it's classical playing or some jazz, you know, something like that. But for rock and roll, for the most part, and big band, people can read chords and stuff like that, but individual notes, a little bit. It's just not a common instrument in that style of music. But I wanted to learn the theory and how it all works together. And it's helped in the playing and the soloing and how to come up with new, or not new, but different ideas for soloing, so I'm not just stuck in this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It sounds great and it works, but just to be able to break out of that a little bit and learning about modes um, and harmonies, voicings, all of that. Chord substitutions is one of my favorite areas of. I just find that fascinating how you can um, completely substitute a harmony and have another chord, basically another chord on top of another chord. That's different, but you're adding extensions on top of it to the point where you almost have a 8 part, 9 part harmony. And some of it's octaves, obviously, but um, as you start to separate a note and it's an octave apart, you can, it's fine. You can do that, even though if you put a next to each other, it wouldn't work. It sounds bad, I think. Dissonant, very dissonant, or what they call a minor second, um, or a major seventh. But a major seventh is technically an octave apart, although you can play them next to each other. I'll give you an example. Um, so you can play something like that. It's a major seven. That's a E major seven. Sounds funky. But you play it like this, or right, then it's fine because you're separating the major seventh and octave apart from each other. So that's why it works. So as you continue to harmonize and you make sure that those intervals are octaves apart from each other, they can work, and you can create all these crazy dissonant chords. You have to be careful. You can get ridiculous with it, obviously, and then it's just you get into crazy land. But then it's like throw it all at the wall and see what works really well, and then kind of carve it back down to something a little bit more realistic. And it also opens up the door. So okay, so let's imagine those chords were being played, but um, when those, if imagine those substitutions are being played, even though they're not being played, you can play over them as if they are being played, and then so you can, play an augmented uh, Lydian scale or Locrian scale or something like that. It's all really complicated with the modes and stuff like that. Modes are really, really easy. The best way to understand a mode is just um, Hi, Bobcat. That's funny. Hmm. Oh, there's plenty of music theory channels on YouTube, and I'm actually I'm doing a guitar beginner tutorial. I don't want to have too much gap between the videos. So what I'm doing is I'm writing the whole lesson plan out, record all the videos, then I can release them on a consistent schedule. But if I try to keep up, and I want to be able to go through and go lesson one, it's like, oh, I forgot to add this, and then I can add it in the next video or do a pickup or something like that. And so I can get a kind of a series of a lesson plan going for beginner guitar all the way as far as I can take it. And then I'm also going to do a music theory series as well, but that's going to come later down the road. And that won't be as much about playing. Again, it'll be more about, notation and stuff like that. It's not as hard as it seems. I feel that sometimes they make things more complicated than it is. Like modes of understanding the modes. The best way to understand the modes is take a major scale, right? Take C, so it's easy to understand. And you say that's the major scale. Also Ionian. Hey, these are Greek names too. I'm sorry if I mispronounce them, but so you go to Dorian, and that is just the same. It's the same pattern. If you learn the pattern of the major scale, that's a double scale, right? Um, then to do Dorian, just start on the next note. And the third, fourth. Sounds like Sound of Music, right? It keeps going. You just keep going up the scale, and those are all your different modes. And so when you're playing a song in the key of C, and all of a sudden you see a D minor, it's just like, oh, I'm just going to play a C major scale, but I'm going to start on the D instead of the C. It'll imply that you're playing the mode. Of course, the chord's going to change pretty quickly, so you'll probably play like a D, right, and back to the C. Whoa. And so that's all in the key of C, obviously. So if you're playing in the key of D minor, you're really just playing in F. Right? Is that right? I want to make sure I'm right here. Yeah, so it's the 6, right? So D is the 6, so it's going to be F. The D minor 7th chord and an F chord are the same chord. Anyway, anything upcoming on songwriting? No, I wasn't planning on it, but I can. I mean, with songwriting, it songwriting, at least the way I approach it. I mean, I've done some original material. I mean, the album that we released too long ago now. We need to get the next one done. All original material. So the way I approach it is there's so many different ways to approach songwriting. You can a lot of the times I'll just come up with a riff that I like, and then I'll write a song around it. Um, I will a melody will pop in my head, and I'll just write that down and say, okay, well, what kind of feel would go over that, and then just start coming up with some extra melody. Try to write it, continue it, make it a little longer, turn it into a phrase, something that works on like a 2 4 bar phrase, and lyrics will come to you. Sometimes that comes to you right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. A classic, the traditional way of songwriting is, you sit down and you write your melody, come up with a 6 to 8 note phrase of a melody, and that's where you should spend the bulk of your time songwriting. And I've always heard it's best to dedicate 2 to 3 hours of time to write a song. Don't go any more than that, or you'll just start to second guess everything you've done and you won't get anywhere. And the other thing too, I don't know if it's contradictory, but the other advice I've heard is just whatever you finish, whatever you're writing, whatever if you've written your chord progression, you like it, or you like a melody, or you got a riff or something like that, just finish the song. Don't worry about the words. That's I think you can get hung up on the words because you can always write them later. And just put in whatever. Just put in gobbledygook. And I think John Lennon said that. Just finish. His point was of saying that was just finish the song, because if you don't finish it now, you probably won't go back to it later. So I think that's pretty good advice. I know I found that to be true for me. I've come up with a lot of little different ideas and I never go back to it. And then when I do finally go back to it, I go, oh, that all sucks. And I just end up like not coming up with anything. So when I want to write a song, I'm just going to take a couple hours. I find about 2 hours is good. If I start going beyond that, I'll start second guessing myself and go crazy with it. And I just build a song at a time. Don't worry about chord substitutions or any of that crazy. Don't worry about arrangements or any of that stuff, or guitar solos or riff or individual riffs in between, like the melody notes, or that you can all add all of that stuff later. It's almost like it's like building blocks. You just do the meat and potatoes, the rhythm, the chords, and the melody. That's the song. That's it. And then you can add lyrics later. And then after you've got that done, I did that with a song that we got to record here called Crazy Love. And it was just it's a 12/8 kind of one of those types of things, right? So I wanted to, after I had the basic melody and the feel and everything else, I said, I want to try to change the chords up a little bit and substitute some other things in there. So I did, and I had something that was a little bit more like this. Back to it. So I added that later. I think I got that right. I can't remember exactly. And then I said, oh, the song needs a key change. So I put a modulation in there and then added a solo on top of it later. It just you keep building it. And like I said, sometimes you go a little crazy and you'll add too much. And it's like, okay, I started adding too many different little chords. And just looked at the melody, looked at the chords, and say, okay, I'm going to simplify this. And you just bring it back down to something a little bit simpler. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you just got to use your ear, because that's that's what's gonna really be the difference between, you know, you don't worry too much about what technically works or what theoretically works. Whatever sounds good to your ear, that's what's going to be the best way to go. So if you're ever stuck and you just feel it, for lack of a better term, or lack of a better advice, just take a breath, forget it for a little bit, come back to it, and then just try to feel it and see whatever feels right. That's what I've always found best to get beyond like if I have too many options and I don't know which way to take the song, I just feel it. And yeah, we got Cannonball Rag coming up soon, so that'll be cool. I'm going to take you through again. It's just my version of it. It's a little bit of the Merle Travis version, a little bit of the Tommy Emmanuel version, some Chet Atkins. I just grabbed a bunch of different things, some Roy Clark stuff. I don't know if he did it, probably. And just kind of, I take you through the main riff. And that's the core of the tune, and everything else is just kind of based around that. And then it goes into a solo, and then it goes into it's just that same pattern: A or E, E7, A9, technically, D9, and then a G. That's A. That's the A section, and then the B section is D, G, E, G. And then it does this chromatic walk up to the 5 from the 4, and then chromatic walk down from the 3. I got the tablature and all of that stuff that'll be in the video itself, and then the free download as well that you can all have. And it's got the whole song, so it's not just the sections in the tablature. And the solo part, I just kind of made up. I grabbed it from something. The first part, I like the sound of doing those sounds, open string, droning, picking. Stuff like that. And that's just over the A section. And then I go to a B section where I just kind of do it Travis style over the chords. Back to the turnaround. Right. And then it goes, what's after that? Oh yeah, then it goes back around again to the A section. Right, we're back to the riff. And a couple little flourishes in there. It does a little chromatic descending line, like that's over. It's just a silly little chromatic thing. It does the turnaround, tags it 3 times, like a typical kind of thing, and then it does this raise 6 or does a B flat in there, so it's like a minor third. 6, 5, or 2/5. Then it does this ending. And that's it. That's the whole tune. So there you go. You don't need the video now. I break it down and show you a little bit more in detail with it. But yeah, that last riff is probably the easiest part of the song. And it's just you just look at it as a pentatonic pattern. That's it. I use a thumb pick for it. You don't have to, but I find it easier, especially with doing this part here. That really helps with that. I mean, any of them. And this part too. Getting the roll. It takes a little bit getting used to, but I mean, it's really just a matter of playing lightly. You don't want to play too hard with it. Just light touch. And that will. There's a little that little section right there that I just played. That's from Mr. Sandman, and that one, it's a slightly different roll than the Cannonball Rag one. The Cannonball Rag one is fairly easy. It's just thumb, index, middle finger, and then go down a string and do it again. That's it. Where the Mr. Sandman one is kind of inverted, I guess. It's index finger first, and then the thumb. Thumb, back index finger, and then the second finger. So the downbeat is always on the index finger, and that's what I always find helpful with finger picking is where's the beat, and find out where the downbeat is. The downbeats. Find out where the downbeats are, and what you're picking on those downbeats, right? And that'll help keep your hand in time and in rhythm, because that's what it's about. It's instead of just you're strumming, you're keeping the beat. When you're finger picking, you have to, every finger has a beat, is either on an upbeat or on a downbeat. So you're like, you have to kind of the standard Travis style. That downbeat you're picking together. Sorry. Hello, all new to the channel. I've been playing for years, but I'm loving this rockabilly and finding it challenging. Cool. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Been trying to learn Rock This Town. Any tips? Rock This Town? Yeah. Assume the Stray Cats version. I assume. Let's see. Trying to think of it. It depends on the section. I mean, obviously you have. I've learned it. I play it occasionally. I know the first. I'll be honest. I know the first solo. I don't know the second one. I never learned the second part. And the reason why is because the first time I ever heard that song, for whatever reason, and when I was learning it, I got the radio edit and not the album version, so the second solo was cut. And then when I finally did hear the album version, I'm like, what's that? And I just never went back and learned it. So I ended up learning the orchestra solo where he's doing all that stuff. So as far as advice, I mean, there's a lot of hybrid style playing in Rock This Town. Like with all the rockabilly stuff that swings, the hardest thing that I've found is getting that swing. If you've got the swing in eighth going like this. That's half the battle. And palm muting too helps. The palm muting really helps. The palm muting really helps get the delay out there. It really makes the delay pop. And then when you're playing the again, when you're playing the rhythm part, palm muting, and you're letting that. When you're doing the swing thing, you're almost kind of hesitating just a little bit, and you're letting the pick kind of drag over those two strings and back up. And if you're struggling with, I don't know, what section of it, I could actually do a video on Rock This Town. I never thought about doing it, just because it's such a well-known tune. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'll try to learn that the second solo for the video. But I add in a little different little flourishes to it as well. But for anybody struggling with the swing feel, regardless of the song, try going back and forth between straight eights and swing. So you'll note anything that's if it sounds fast and it's swinging, and you try to play that straight, it's going to sound super fast. And if you play a song that's straight eights and it sounds really fast, and you try to swing it, it sounds really slow. So a song that's, say, 185 as a swing song kind of feels like a medium tempo tune. 185 and straight eights is light speed, or at least is the way we perceive it. So I would take something like Rock This Town, or whatever, and that riff, and swing it, and then try to straighten it out. But still going up and down with your wrist instead of... And that's another thing too. With the swing thing, you definitely want to go up and down when you're swinging. You don't want to go just all downstrokes. Like, you can get away with that if the tempo is really slow, like say 120 or something like that. You can. And if you want to get that sort of shuffle feel at a slower tempo, you might want to do that. But Rock This Town, I think, is around 180, 185. So. Up and down helps the swing, even when you're playing the rhythm. And then it goes... I'm trying to remember the little parts to it. And it's just putting those pieces together. Oh, there's the little... Or you can do it like that. So it's just one of those little riffs. You're just playing sevenths all the way up. Seventh shape, rather. And then he does different things. Like in the beginning, he'll do that little walk down. And that happens later on. You can do that with the Bigsby too, if you want that sound in there. I'm trying to think of what else. What other little spots that I remember. Oh, you look me once, twice, me again, and there's Right, back to that. Oh yeah. That's like that's the Shake, Rattle, and Roll riff from Bill Haley. Just done in F. Then the solo, right? Something like that. Right. For the first solo part. So yeah, he kind of goes into that stuff and then goes into this there's the E just hitting the 7th, the D7 letting the top strings ring out, and then plays B minor, a 6, right? He's just playing a melodic pentatonic or a major pentatonic, right? Yeah, he does. He down tunes the lower E on the orchestra version for sure. He might do it on the Stray Cats. I don't think so. Maybe. Either way, the low E string isn't really played all that much solo wise on that song. But yeah, you can do that too if you want. You can try to do this here. And you can add in that lower bass. Do that. Right. So yeah, you can do that too. That's always a nice little trick. Oh, Rockin' by Myself, he did it on there. Yeah, I've never heard that album. I've never heard it. I always looked for it when I was looking for CDs when that was a thing. And I know it's available now to listen to, but I just haven't yet. So, but or it might not be. I don't know, because he might have everything on there now. But for a while, it was tough to find stuff on Spotify. Not everything was there. So he did it there, Rockabilly. Yeah, that was towards the end of the Stray Cats era, and that was shortly before the orchestra came out. So, and then he added that part into the solo. Yeah, it's great. It's a great. I'm sure the album's great. I'll have to listen to that. Yeah, so I don't know what other. That's my advice for Rock This Town. Sometimes I'll down tune it when I play it live. Sometimes I don't. It depends on what the audience is doing, really. I'll usually go around once. I'll play that solo. It's not on Spotify. Okay, that's why. Yeah. Yep, 93. Yep, right before the orchestra. I may have to find a CD. Next time I'm at you have to go to a record store these days to find even CDs. Or if I could find it on vinyl, probably not. But every time I go into a vinyl, I call it vinyl. Every time I go in a record shop to look for anything, I always just look to see if I can find cassettes or something. And sometimes I do. Most of the time I don't. I don't know if it's all been picked clean or what, but I have a few. But oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian. See you again soon. It is live in Japan. Oh, the album is? Oh, cool. Wait, yeah, okay. I've seen some videos of him like playing. I don't know if it's the same thing, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube of him playing just by himself and playing the guitar, whether it's this guitar or if it's the Super 400, the Gibson. That's really nice. Where he does like beautiful blues and things like that. Fun, fun little riffs. Yeah, yeah. So I'll go around and you play if the audience is really into it. I'll go around again and take another solo, and that's something that it lends itself very well to rockabilly and country, and but just root style music in general, is being able to keep the song going past its original arrangement. So if you're playing live and the audience is into it and they're up and they're dancing, you don't want to just stop and switch the feel on them completely. The best thing to do is just go around again and sing and play another solo. If you have lucky enough to have other players in the band, you got a keyboard player or whatever, or another guitar player, then just toss the solo to them, let them go around a couple times, or even if you don't, just sing another verse. Go back and sing the verse again. Um, I'll go. It doesn't matter what song it is. Sometimes it you can't do that with every song. Some songs are the arrangement, and that's that. And if you try to throw in a curveball, it can throw the whole thing out of whack. Now, if the band's used to that and you're used to like doing that on every song, then that can work. I would struggle to do it on something like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. It's just so ingrained in my brain to play it that specific way that if I tried to add a solo randomly in the middle of it, it would just I feel like I would, if I didn't lose it, the band might, and it would be a mess. But any of the 1-4-5 stuff, like, or close enough to it, what it like Rock This Town. This is like a 2, 6, 5, 1, right? Or it's not a 6. It's just a 2. It's just a 2, 5, 1. Yeah. So it was 4, 2, 5, 1. So anything like that, similar to no, that's not a 2, 5, 1. I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, any of those basic turnaround songs, you hear something that goes like this. That's just a 2, 5, 1, or D if we're in D. And you can essentially just play like you're playing over a 1-4-5, even if a song has those the 2-5-1, 6-2-5-1, 3-2-6, whatever. It doesn't matter. And yeah, as long as you know the form, take it around again. That way it helps. It stretches out the time too. The band is digging the song or whatever, and you just want to keep it going for a little bit. Just keep it going. All right. Well, anyway, so we've been going for a little over an hour. So sometimes will usually go a little bit longer here. I'm eventually going to, just been crazy busy as usual. Change up the format of the live stream just a little bit. Where do a little playing in the beginning like I did today, and then go into a tutorial section where we go over a specific song and just learn a song for the week, whether it's a whole song or just the solo or the whatever. And then maybe talk about something else that I might have on my mind that week, or some other sort of question, gear related, theory, music related, and then go into this and talk about, answer questions, and go into it from there, just to add some sort of form to the live stream. Although I like this kind of loose form as well, and I'm still going to continue to do that, but I just want to add a little bit more to it, so we can look forward to maybe learning something, and also writing some tabs out for you guys that can try to have available for you for download. And of course, backing tracks as well. I've had a couple of requests for backing tracks, and those are in the works. I just haven't had a chance to upload them yet. They will be available um, through the Patreon, and they will be available through the YouTube membership. Those they are just, yeah, those take a little bit of time to deal with. And the other issue is it'll be available for the first tier for everything. I'm not gonna, you know, put it behind some sort of crazy paywall or anything like that. But it takes a bit of time to make those things. The tablature stuff is always going to be available. I'm not going to, hide any of that stuff. But the main reason is because I want to be somewhat careful about creating a backing track that is just on YouTube and isn't, through some sort of membership thing. So, but I might just release them too. It depends on how it takes a while to make those backing tracks. So it's not something that I can just pump out crazy without. I could do it if it was just a basic drum beat and a basic, electric bass line. But I'm gonna try to duplicate all the drum parts as much as I can, and then also put the upright bass on it, and but there won't be any guitar, because it'll just be so it saves me a little bit of time in that as well. And then the accompanying tablature and things like that. So that's something down the road that's going to happen. Still have to open the shop, the merch shop. I haven't done that yet either. And I know a couple of people have asked for that too. So, am I using the Bassman now? Sounds really good. No, it's a Bassman. It's a plugin. I'll show it to you here real quick. If I played the Bassman live, it would blow my ears out. So this is my Pro Tools setup, and this is what I use to make everything. But anyway, this is the plugin here. Does it make any noises? Anything? No flashing lights? Nothing. Yeah, it's called Bass Dude. And it was like a free thing I found, or I forget where I got it. I think it was through Pro Tools or whatever, because that's what I used to record all my original stuff, make everything for the channel, audio wise. And you can do all these different settings, have all the different types of whatever, or you can create a empty cab and make your own sounds, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I only really use plugins for demos and some backing tracks and stuff like that. For the channel though, all the guitar stuff that you hear on the videos, the tutorials, that's the Bassman. That's the actual amplifier. I record everything on the video, and I'll go full screen for a second. I'll go into Pro Tools direct, and I'll have that plug in, and I can hear it. Or sometimes I don't even listen to the guitar, excuse me, plugged in. I'll just play it acoustically, and I record the video, and then I will reamp it, and that is just going back out of my interface into a radial reamp pedal that balances your signal, and then that functions as basically like your guitar. That goes into the amplifier, and then you put a microphone in front of the amplifier, and you record that back into your system. And so you can do whatever you want. And a lot of albums are recorded that way. That way you can focus on your playing. When you go direct, people will play usually if you're in a studio, if you don't have plugins, you will still listen to your amplifier live in the studio, put a mic up to it, get like a scratch track, or even if you want to keep it. So, but if you make a mistake, a lot of people do punches and stuff now, but if you don't want to do that, you can still record your amplifier the same way you would record it when you reamp. And then if you didn't quite like the tone that you got, you're also going a throughput to your amplifier and going input to your interface. And if you just didn't like the tone, you still have the raw data, and you can reamp again and get a better sound. You want the treble a little more, you want a little more saturation or something. Or you want to add an effect on it. Instead of just looping the effect, you could loop the whole thing if you want to organically capture that effect coming out of the amplifier, because there's a difference there slightly, where you can, if you have the delay actually coming through the amplifier or reverb or whatever, versus adding it on afterwards as an effect, or even if you loop out into a pedal and back into the board. There's a difference. There's so many different ways you can mix audio for recording that, it's whatever you prefer sound wise. I try to get it as raw sounding as I possibly can. Everything from the amplifier. So even with the original stuff on the album, I'll reamp it, because if you're trying to do take after take for a solo, all the rhythm stuff for the most part is recorded live in the studio, and I'll keep that. And sometimes I'll keep the solos. If it was great, I'll keep it. If I don't like it, I'll go back and retake and add a solo and punch it in and reamp it or whatever. But yeah, so then this, and you can make your own backing tracks too. It's really easy. It just takes time. That's why I say it takes a while to make them. It's not difficult. It just takes a lot of time. This program, there's two different programs that they make. This one's called BFD3. This is a drum program. And I don't know if it comes through or not. You can hear it. There's the kick, snare. Right. And the other program is called Superior Drummer. That's probably the more popular one, I think, now. And you just create your grooves. This is 4/4, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a kick. So if we wanted to start a new groove, there's nothing here right now. You would hit a 1 and a 3. There's your downbeat, right? And then you could take a snare, hit it on the 2 and the 4. And so you've got, right? And it's real sampled drums too, so it's not a MIDI thing or anything. It's actual recorded drums. This one is, you can look at the different types of snares and the kicks, DW, Gretsch, Ludwig, actual Gretsch and Ludwig DW drums that have been recorded. And obviously this is not a replacement for drummers, because this is not the there's nothing is going to ever replace the real live feel of a real drummer, and that tempo and everything just kind of wavering, because everything is going to be super quantized and like you're playing to a click. It does suck the life out of music, I think, especially roots swing, especially roots music, period. So, but yeah, and you can add the ride to it, 1, 3, and you can add a 3 and a 4, and that adds the, it's really strange that it doesn't add this, but I have to go down to bow, which is just hitting the cymbal as opposed to the edge of the stick. And then you can play it, and you got a little swing rhythm going on. And you can change your velocities here. So like the upbeats are not hit as hard. Kind of mess with your velocity a little bit, whatever you want to change. But anyway, it's really easy to use, I think. And then once you have your instrument track up here, if anybody's familiar with a DAW, you can use this in any program too. It doesn't have to be Pro Tools. You just drop and name your groove whatever you want to name it. This is gridded out. Oh, now it's a grid. 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. You just drop and drag. Boom. There's your beat. And then you can switch this to track, and then it's playing that track. See? And then you can duplicate it for whatever. So that's how I make all the backing tracks for the channel. And there's plenty of grooves and fills and things you can add, or make your own fills if you want to, whatever you want to do. And then I record the upright that you see sitting in the back. I do that for real. I don't use MIDI bass or anything like that. Sometimes I'll use the electric. It depends on the song. For Cannonball Rag, I used the upright. And if you listen to the tracks, you'll hear the bass clicking in the back. It's me playing the bass. And in some of the old videos, if you look back, I did a split screen thing where I'm playing the bass and the guitar at the same time. Kind of funny. Then I have this little tape plug-in. I think I found it's just like free stuff that I got with the package deal, and I have a bunch of different delays, but that one I found to be the best. They do make Roland Space Echo plugins for that, but you can use just what comes with it. Yeah, so that's kind of the background process, a little bit of how I do everything. And then I make the tablature. I use Guitar Pro. Now, I used to use Finale to make all the tabs that you see in the videos, but now I use the Guitar Pro. It's so much easier. It's so much faster to input the tabs. With Finale, I'd have to put the notes in and then make the tab. Where with Guitar Pro, it's the reverse. You make the tab and then it automatically puts the notes in. And it's so much easier for guitar because Finale doesn't really know guitar that well. So when you duplicate everything down to the tab, it's all wrong. It's all backwards and weird, and you have to go through and manually fix everything, and it's a pain. So anyway, so all right, we're going for about an hour and a half now. This is usually pretty good. Well, I want to thank everybody again for hanging out and joining the live stream. I'm going to get back to making that video and have it up hopefully soon, hopefully by the end of next week, and start working on some more stuff. And keep the music alive, keep the channel going. Thank you guys again for liking, subscribing, and watching the videos. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll keep it going. Until next time, we'll have the live stream next week, same time. Well, pretty consistent for the rest of the month, unless I have a gig or something else conflicts with this. This is the time that seems to work best for me. So I'll be keeping it around here, and you'll see. I'll try to make sure that I have the notifications will go up. The whatever you call it, the premiere for the live stream. They'll let you know that it's upcoming. And until next time, have a good one, everybody.